The restaurant was quiet, filled with soft music and warm candlelight. Daniel sat across from Vanessa, his fiancée, dressed in a deep red gown that shimmered under the lights. He smiled at her, thinking about how far they had come. The wedding was only a few weeks away. Everything was set. The venue, the guest list, the cake. Tonight, he thought, they would talk about their honeymoon plans. But then she looked up at him, her face calm, her voice steady. "I can't do this anymore," she said softly. "I can't marry a man with kids." Daniel blinked, confused. What do you mean?" "It's either them or me," she said, still calm. "I want a fresh start, Daniel. No baggage, no children from another woman." Her words hit him like cold water. His heart started to race. "Maya and Elijah are not baggage," he said, his voice cracking. "They're my children." Vanessa didn't flinch. "I didn't sign up to be a mother. I love you, Daniel. But I won't live in a house with 2 kids that aren't mine. I've tried, but this isn't the life I want." Daniel stared at her. The woman he had planned to marry. The woman he had brought into his home, into the lives of his children. He had imagined a future with her. Birthdays, school events, family dinners. But now she was asking him to choose. "They lost their mother," he whispered. "They only have me." "They can stay with your mom," she said quickly. "Loretta loves them. She's always offering to help. Let them stay there. Permanently." Permanently. Daniel couldn't speak. His throat felt tight. He thought of Maya's drawings stuck to the fridge, of Elijah's laughter echoing in the hallway, of bedtime stories, of packed school lunches, of small hands holding his. "I thought you loved them," he said quietly. Vanessa looked away. "I tried, but they're not mine." "I'm sorry, Daniel, but this is my line." Silence fell between them. The waiter came by, unsure whether to pour more wine. Daniel waved him away. His hands were shaking. He looked at her again. Beautiful, strong, sure of what she wanted. And all he saw was a stranger. She checked her nails. "You don't have to decide right now, but the wedding is in 3 weeks. Think about what kind of life you really want." Daniel nodded slowly, heart heavy, eyes wet. He had never felt more alone. The scene ends on his face, frozen, torn between love and fatherhood. Daniel had not always lived with this kind of pain in his heart. 5 years ago, he lost his wife, Rachel, in a terrible car accident. One moment she was on her way to work, smiling as always. The next, he got a phone call that changed everything. She was gone, just like that. No goodbye, no warning. They had been married for 8 years. Together, they had built a life filled with laughter, dreams, and 2 beautiful children. Maya, who was just 5 then, and Elijah, only 2. After Rachel's death, Daniel became both father and mother to them. It wasn't easy. There were nights he cried alone in the bathroom, not wanting the kids to see, but he kept going, for them. By day, he worked as a school counselor. He loved helping young people, guiding them through problems, but the salary wasn't enough. So every evening, after dinner and bedtime stories, he drove Uber rides until midnight. It was exhausting, but worth it. He wanted to make sure Maya and Elijah never lacked anything. His mother, Loretta, helped when she could. She lived 2 towns away and was always ready to step in during emergencies or school holidays. She adored her grandchildren and was one of the few people who truly understood Daniel's pain. But she had her own health to manage and couldn't be around all the time. Then, a year ago, Daniel met Vanessa. They were introduced at a birthday party by a mutual friend. Vanessa stood out, tall, elegant, confident. She worked as a real estate agent and talked about big goals, big dreams. She was charming and always had the right thing to say. At first, Daniel was surprised someone like her would even be interested in a single dad with 2 kids. But she was. They started dating. Slowly, he let her into his world. She met Maya and Elijah. At the beginning, Vanessa smiled a lot and brought them little gifts. Maya would braid her hair. Elijah would show her his toys. For a moment, Daniel felt hope again, that maybe, just maybe, he could have love a second time. But things started to change. Vanessa stopped staying for bedtime. She would frown when the kids got too loud. She once told Daniel, "It's hard to connect with children that aren't yours." He brushed it off. Maybe she just needed time. Now, with the wedding planned and the date getting close, her patience had run out. And Daniel was stuck. Everything was already paid for. The venue, the suits, the dress. Invitations had been sent. Guests were flying in from different states. Cancelling now would be messy and expensive. Everyone was expecting this perfect fairy tale ending, but nothing felt perfect. His kids still adored him. Every morning, Elijah would run to hug him before school. Maya loved their nightly talks before bed. They missed their mum, but they had built a new life, a quiet, strong one, with just the three of them. Daniel had worked so hard to protect their peace, and now Vanessa was asking him to break that. He felt torn. He loved his children deeply. They were his heart. But he also feared being alone forever. It had taken him 5 years to open up again. Would he ever find someone else if this didn't work? His mind was full of questions, his chest heavy with worry. He sat alone in the living room that night, the wedding folder open on the table, pictures of the kids nearby. He stared at them both. Maya's drawing of their family still hung on the wall. 4 stick figures. One was faded now. He closed his eyes. How do you choose between your future and your past, when both live in your heart? And more importantly, how do you protect your children from heartbreak, when the person you love is the one trying to cause it? It was a quiet Thursday evening. The kids were doing their homework at the kitchen table while Daniel made dinner. He stirred the pot of jollof rice, heart pounding in his chest. He had been putting it off for days, but he couldn't avoid it anymore. "Maya, Elijah," he said softly. They both looked up. Maya's eyes were sharp, curious. Elijah still had a crayon in his hand. "I need to talk to you," Daniel said, trying to keep his voice steady. "You're going to stay with Grandma for a while." Elijah blinked. "Like, for the weekend?" Daniel swallowed hard. "No, sweetheart, for a bit longer." Maya narrowed her eyes. "Why?" Daniel looked away. He couldn't look into her eyes and lie. "Grandma misses you, and it might be good for all of us." Maya closed her notebook. "Does Vanessa not like us?" The question hit Daniel like a slap. His hand shook as he placed the spoon on the counter. He turned his back to them and leaned against the sink. "She doesn't want us here, does she?" Maya pressed. Daniel's shoulders began to shake. He covered his face with both hands. For the first time in years, he cried in front of his children. Elijah looked confused. Maya stood up and quietly wrapped her arms around her father. She didn't say anything else. She just held him. That night, after everyone went to bed, Maya took out a small notepad from her school bag. She sat by the window with a pencil and wrote a letter. Carefully, she folded it and slipped it into the pocket of Daniel's jacket, hanging by the door. The next day, Daniel didn't notice the letter. He went to work, came back, and avoided the topic again. But Vanessa did not. She walked into the living room with a shopping bag and a new throw pillow. "I've been thinking," she said. "This place needs a fresh look. Maybe repaint the walls. Get rid of all that kid clutter." Daniel looked up from his laptop. "What clutter?" She motioned to the toys in the corner. Elijah's toy truck, Maya's drawing board. "They won't need it here. You said they're leaving Saturday." He didn't answer. "Daniel," she said sharply, "we're getting married in 2 weeks. I need to know you're serious. I'm not going to raise someone else's kids. You know that." He nodded slowly. "I'll tell them." That night, he did. "Saturday," he said quietly. "Grandma's coming to get you." Maya didn't say a word. She stared at him, her lips pressed tight. Then she stood and walked to her room. Elijah cried, "I don't want to go, Daddy. I want to stay here." Daniel sat on the floor and held him. "I love you, son. This is just something we have to do for now." The house felt cold. Maya hardly spoke. Elijah became clingy. The once warm and lively home felt like it was holding its breath. On Friday, Daniel finally reached for his jacket before heading out. He slipped his hand into the pocket and felt something folded inside. He pulled out the piece of paper and opened it. It was Maya's handwriting. "Please, don't send us away for someone who doesn't want us. Mommy wouldn't like that. We can be enough for you. I promise." Daniel sat down, letter trembling in his hand. Tears rolled down his cheeks. His heart broke all over again. He didn't know what to do. He felt stuck, torn between guilt and fear. That evening, Vanessa was busy picking out curtains and moving furniture. She dumped the kids' things in a plastic bag and pushed it into the garage. "We'll make this house our own," she said with a fake smile. Finally, a space just for us. Daniel said nothing, but inside, something was changing, something deep. The audience could see it now. The difference between love and control, between warmth and coldness. And maybe Daniel was starting to see it too. On Saturday morning, Daniel woke up later than planned. His alarm didn't go off. The house was too quiet. No footsteps, no cartoons playing, no sound of Maya humming or Elijah asking for cereal. He jumped out of bed and rushed to the kids' room. Empty. The beds were made, but no one was there. Panic hit him like a wave. He noticed a small folded note on Maya's pillow. His hands shook as he opened it. "We didn't want to be in your way. We're going to find Mommy." Daniel's chest tightened. His legs almost gave out. He ran through the house, calling their names. "Maya! Elijah!" He checked the backyard, the street. Nothing. "Vanessa!" he shouted. She came down the stairs, annoyed. "What is it?" "They're gone." "What?" He held out the note. She read it and scoffed. "Unbelievable. This is exactly why I didn't want kids, Daniel. They're drama. And now look, they've run off like little brats." "They're children," Daniel snapped. "Scared and confused. This is not their fault." Vanessa folded her arms. "Well, good luck dealing with it. I'm done." Daniel didn't even respond. He was already grabbing his phone, calling his mom. "Mum, they're gone," he said. "They left a note. Said they're looking for Rachel." Loretta gasped. "I'm on my way. Start calling the police." He called the school, called the neighbors. No one had seen them. His voice cracked when he spoke to the police. They told him to wait while they sent an officer over. Hours passed. The house filled with silence and worry. Then, finally, his phone rang. "Hello? Sir, this is the manager at Quick Stop Gas, about 15 miles down Route 8. 2 kids were found walking near the highway, a girl and a younger boy. One of our workers brought them in. They gave us your number." Daniel's heart nearly stopped. "I'm coming right now." He drove like a man possessed. When he arrived, Maya and Elijah were sitting in the small gas station office. They looked scared, tired, and dusty. Maya held Elijah's hand tightly. When they saw him, they ran to him. "Daddy!" Elijah cried. Daniel dropped to his knees and wrapped them in his arms, tears running down his face. "I'm sorry, Daddy," Maya whispered. "We just didn't want to go." Daniel kissed the top of her head. "I'm the one who's sorry. I should have never made you feel like you weren't enough." Back at home, Vanessa waited at the door. "Well?" she asked coldly. Daniel didn't waste a second. "They're staying. I don't care if you leave." Vanessa stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "You're choosing them over me?" "I never should have let it get this far," Daniel said. "They're my children. They're what I live for." Vanessa scoffed. "Wow, you're just a pathetic single dad who doesn't know when to let go. Have fun playing house. The wedding's off." She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. And just like that, the dream of a new life with Vanessa was gone. Within a few days, word spread. Guests began calling, cancelling their attendance. Some were confused. Others were disappointed. The venue wouldn't return the deposit. The florist demanded payment. Daniel's inbox filled with bills and broken plans. At work, Daniel struggled to focus. His head was heavy with stress, embarrassment, and regret. But when he came home, he saw Maya drawing by the window again. He saw Elijah back at the piano, tapping the keys and giggling. Loretta moved in for a while to help. She cooked, she cleaned, and most of all, she loved. The house began to feel warm again, alive. One evening, Maya climbed into Daniel's lap and handed him a drawing. It was of their family, her, Elijah, Daddy, and Mommy in the clouds above them. "You made the right choice," she said softly. Daniel held her close. For the first time in weeks, he smiled without forcing it. It was still hard. The money was tight. His heart still hurt. But his children were safe, happy, and that made everything worth it. Weeks passed. Life was still tough, but Daniel felt more at peace. He focused on his children. He went to work, helped with homework, made dinner, and read bedtime stories. The house felt lighter. Maya smiled more. Elijah laughed again. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Then one day, a thick envelope arrived in the mail. Daniel opened it and felt his heart drop. It was a legal letter from Vanessa's lawyer. She was suing him. She wanted him to pay for everything: the wedding dress, the venue, the decorations, the cake, the photographer, and even her bachelorette trip. The letter claimed Daniel emotionally manipulated her and wasted her time and money. Daniel sat down at the kitchen table, his hands shaking. He couldn't believe it. After everything, she was still trying to hurt him. He couldn't afford a lawyer. He didn't have thousands lying around. So, he started preparing to represent himself. He stayed up late, reading about small claims court. He printed documents, made a list of expenses he had paid too, and tried to stay calm. The day of the hearing came. Daniel dressed in his best suit, the same one he wore when he proposed. His hands were sweaty. Loretta stayed home with the kids. He didn't want them to see him like this. Vanessa arrived at court in a shiny black dress and heels. Her makeup was perfect. Her nails were done. She looked like someone who had never known struggle. She sat beside her lawyer, calm and proud. Daniel sat across from her, trying to steady his breath. The judge came in. Everyone stood. The hearing began. Vanessa's lawyer spoke first. My client suffered emotional distress. She spent thousands preparing a wedding. She was led on. Mr. Ellis should be held responsible for her losses. Then it was Daniel's turn. He stood up. I never lied to her. I never hid my children. They were always part of my life. She just decided she didn't want them, and I couldn't let them go. I chose my kids. The judge nodded slowly, reading through the papers in front of him. Then the judge paused. He looked confused. I received something unexpected, he said. A handwritten letter was mailed to my office last week. It appears to be from your daughter, Mr. Ellis. May I read it aloud? Daniel froze. My daughter? The judge nodded and opened the letter. Everyone in the courtroom listened as he read. Dear Judge, my name is Maya. I am 10 years old. My mommy died when I was 5. My daddy is all we have. He works very hard and never makes us feel alone. His friend Vanessa wanted us to go away. Daddy was very sad, but he chose us. Please don't make him pay money. He should not be punished for loving us. He is our hero. Thank you. Maya Ellis. The room was silent. Even Vanessa's lawyer shifted uncomfortably. Vanessa looked down at the floor. Her face, once smug, was now tight and unreadable. The judge put the letter down. I've read many letters in my time, he said quietly, but few have moved me like this. He looked at Vanessa. Miss Taylor, a wedding called off because a man chose to keep his children you could not accept, is not a case of fraud or manipulation. It is a case of values. You're free to feel hurt, but legally, there is no case here. He turned to Daniel. Mr. Ellis, you owe her nothing. Case dismissed. Daniel stood in disbelief. He didn't even know Maya had sent a letter. He didn't know how she found the address, but he knew her heart. As he stepped out of the courtroom, Maya and Elijah ran to him. Loretta had brought them to wait outside just in case. You wrote that? Daniel asked, hugging Maya tightly. She nodded. I used the address on the envelope. I just wanted them to know you were a good daddy. Daniel laughed softly, tears in his eyes. You saved me, baby girl. In that small courthouse hallway, Daniel didn't feel defeated anymore. He felt like he had already won the most important battle, and it was standing right in front of him, smiling up at him with love in her eyes. Months passed. Life looked very different for Daniel now. After the court case, he started writing. Late at night, after putting the kids to bed, he sat at his laptop and poured his heart out. He wrote about the pain, the fear, the moment he almost gave up his children, and how he found strength again. He called it Dad First, a blog for single fathers. At first, only a few people read it, but then one of his posts went viral. I almost chose love over my kids. Here's why I didn't. It spread across social media like wildfire. People reached out. Fathers from all over the country shared their own stories. Some cried. Some said they felt seen for the first time. Single mums and even married couples commented too, saying how powerful his story was. Local news picked it up. Then national news followed. Soon, Daniel was being invited to speak at schools, churches, and community centers. A publisher emailed him. They wanted him to write a book. I think your story can help a lot of people, the editor said. And your daughter's letter, it broke my heart in the best way. Daniel couldn't believe it. His small home, once full of stress and sadness, now buzzed with hope. Sponsors donated school supplies for other single dads. One company even offered him a part-time paid writing job. He cut back on Uber driving and spent more time with Maya and Elijah. He still thought about Vanessa sometimes, about her cold words, her sharp looks, her selfishness. It still hurt, but the pain didn't control him anymore. It was like a scar, still there, but no longer bleeding. Maya's letter now sat in a wooden frame on his desk. Every morning before starting work, he read it. It reminded him of why he fought so hard. Elijah had started playing piano again. For his school concert, he wrote a simple song titled "My Dad, My Hero." He performed it in front of a full auditorium. Halfway through, Daniel had to wipe away his tears. The audience gave a standing ovation. And something else happened too. Daniel met someone. Her name was Alicia. She was a school nurse, kind, soft-spoken, and gentle with everyone. They met at a parent-teacher event. She had no big entrance, no fancy clothes, just a warm smile and kind eyes. At first, Daniel was nervous, but slowly, carefully, they started spending time together. Coffee, walks in the park, small dinners at home. Maya and Elijah loved her. "She listens to us," Maya said once, "and she lets us be kids." Daniel smiled. He knew this was what love should feel like: peaceful, respectful, safe. One evening, as they sat in the backyard watching the sunset, Alicia turned to him. "You're a good man, Daniel. Your kids are lucky." He looked at her and said, "No, I'm the lucky one. They saved me." He didn't have a big house or a fancy car. He didn't take grand vacations, but he had something many people spent their whole lives chasing: peace, purpose, and a family that loved him without condition. And in his heart, Daniel knew he had made the right choice. The house was quiet. Soft evening light filled the hallway. Daniel walked into Maya's room with a book in his hand. Elijah was already asleep, snuggled under his blanket, but Maya was still wide awake, waiting. "Story time?" he asked with a smile. She nodded and pulled the blanket up to her chin. Daniel sat beside her and opened the book. His voice was calm and warm as he read, each word soft like a lullaby. Halfway through the story, Maya looked up at him. Her eyes were big and thoughtful. "Daddy," she whispered. "Yes, baby. Thank you for choosing us." Daniel's voice caught. He closed the book slowly and looked at her. His eyes filled with tears, but he smiled. "There was never a choice," he said softly. "You were always first." Maya gave a small, sleepy smile. She reached for his hand and held it tightly. "I miss Mommy," she whispered. "I know," he said. "Me too. Every day." They sat there in silence for a few moments, the quiet filling the room like a blanket. Daniel kissed her forehead gently. "You and Elijah, you saved me. I thought I was alone after Mommy died, but you reminded me what love really is." Maya's eyes slowly closed. She whispered, "We just wanted you to be happy." "I am," he said, brushing her hair back. "More than you'll ever know." He waited until her breathing was steady and slow, then stood and quietly walked out of the room. He went into his small home office. The light from the desk lamp glowed softly. On the wall, in a simple wooden frame, hung the letter Maya had written, the one he found in his jacket pocket months ago. He looked at it for a long moment. His eyes landed on one line: "We can be enough for you." He smiled, and this time, the tears that came weren't from pain, they were from love. "Hey, sweethearts. Thanks a ton for sticking with us till the end. Don't forget to like, comment, share with your friends, and of course, subscribe for more powerful stories. See you next time. Bye.